Hello. Today I'm doing a video on sardine fasting. First and foremost, I am not a doctor whatsoever. This is just anecdotal, my own experience with it. Um, this will be my third time now doing a sardine fast. I do it for 3 days. I think one of the times I did it like 4. I don't remember exactly. This time I did it for 3. The reason that I'm doing it, I have been doing the carnivore diet, but I've been taking breaks. So I do it like 8 to 10 weeks at a time. And then I'll do like 2 to 4 weeks of just kind of eating what I want, hopefully in moderation. But just the necessary break from kind of being strict and not having any carbs in my diet. So I found in the past I had done water fasts, and personally I felt that the flu-like symptoms, like the keto flu, that transitionary period, were much worse for me whenever I just water fast as compared to this sardine fasting that I've done. I guess that's going to vary person to person. There's the obvious thing of sardines are definitely an acquired taste. I can't say that I love them, but they're bearable and I eat them for this reason. They're very good for you, apparently, like as far as nutrition goes. My original inspiration to do this, I came across a podcast. The doctor's name is Dr. Dom D'Agostino. I'm going to try and find the original podcast that I watched and link that. He goes in depth with his research into it. He is a doctor. He does know what he was doing, what he's talking about. But something about sardines, it's allegedly the balance of protein to fat and the absence of carbohydrates is supposedly very good, and you get the exact same effects of doing a water fast, but you have the ability to eat something. I think even if it doesn't taste good or it's not exactly what you want, just a psychological effect of like, well, I can still eat. It's not like all I can do is drink water for this 72 hours. It makes it very much more bearable, in my opinion. And as I said before, it seems to lessen the effects, those like flu-like effects that I experience from fasting to get back into a ketogenic state. So my favorite brand of sardines so far, and I'm not sponsored by them in any way, are these. It's Wild Planet brand sardines. The particular ones that I found, I have found that there's been a shortage on the shelf of this particular brand, but these were just in water with sea salt. I guess it depends on how you feel about oils and things like that. I also like the ones that are in olive oil. I think they taste good. I know there's, depending on which rabbit holes you go down on YouTube and which nutritionists, people who are talking about nutrition, I should say, will have different opinions on olive oils and things like that. But that was what I went with. I greatly enjoyed it. As far as eating sardines goes, I should say, they're kind of my favorite. I had 2 cases that I purchased on Amazon that were Chicken of the Sea brand. They were much cheaper, half the price. I have to power through those personally. The texture ugh, it isn't great. I think they cook them a little bit longer, and so they're more mushy. The Chicken of the Sea brand, this Wild Planet brand, actually is not. They're kind of more solid, like an actual fish, and the bones are like a little. They're still there, and they're not as soft. And for whatever reason, I actually like that better. Um, as far as how I eat them, there's a lot of like recipes online of ways that you can cook them and things that you can do with them. I personally haven't really done any of that. I just kind of crack them open. Sometimes I will put just standard yellow mustard. I have some sriracha sauce that was pretty all right. Also, I think really the only thing you would want to look out for is just making sure that there's no sugar. It's important to make sure whatever condiments you're using on your sardines don't have sugar. That's going to throw you out of the ketogenic state. It's going to negate all the things that you're doing for fasting. Um, I guess it also just kind of depends on what your intention was with starting fasting in the first place. If you want to stay in ketosis, you probably, just don't want to do that. So, yellow mustard, sriracha sauce, basically my go-tos. Sometimes I'll just put like regular garlic powder, garlic salt on them. You can cook them. Like I said, there's plenty of videos and recipes online about how to eat them if you can't stand the taste of them or room temperature, or, there's lots of ways to make them palatable. So the next thing I want to talk about with that, I also did intermittent fasting with it unintentionally. As I said before, sardines are a acquired taste. They're not my favorite thing to eat, which is also helpful if you're trying to fast, because you don't necessarily need to be eating all the time. If you go back and watch that podcast with Dom D'Agostino, he talks about you can eat as many as you want in a day. It's not going to throw you out of the fasting state. I average probably like 2 or 3 cans a day when I'm doing this. Some of it's because I don't really feel hungry. And when you're eating something that you don't really want to eat and you tell yourself that that's the only option, it's much easier to look at that and say, all right, well, I'm just not as hungry as I think I am. I think I learn how often I'm eating because I feel like I should and not because I'm actually hungry. But this time around, I didn't really do it intentionally. I did document when I ate and how much time was in between. So I started this, the last time that I ate was on June 30th of 2026 at 9 p.m. I guess it's irrelevant what I had, but I had some sushi because I knew that I wasn't going to have carbs for the next 2 months, and it sounded good. So 9 p.m., that was the last thing that I ate. Showered, went to bed, whatever. Woke up the next day on July 1st. I believe I went to work and just did what I normally would do. And so I ate 2 cans at 10:15 in the morning. And then I had another 2 cans at 1 p.m. Then I essentially intermittent fasting. I did 20 hours before I ate again. So on the 2nd of July, I had 3 cans at 10:15 a.m. I didn't eat the rest of that day. If I remember right, I just wasn't in the mood for it, and it just wasn't what I wanted to be eating. So I just didn't eat. until 7:15 the next day on July 3rd. And I had 2 cans then. And I didn't eat the rest of the day until 9 p.m. I made it a point to wait literally to the minute, 9 p.m. On July 3rd, so that I would make sure that I literally did a 3-day fast. In that time, I always, personally, I try to stay hydrated, and I carry around like a gallon jug of water with me to make sure that I drink a gallon of water a day. So I continue to drink a gallon of water during this time period. That's another thing. Even when you're water fasting, you can drink as much water as you want. And it does help you stay full, or feel full, I guess, if that's a thing that is difficult for you, like psychologically, I guess. It's like having an empty stomach. Like I said, whenever he talks about this diet, you don't have to follow intermittent fasting, and you don't have to limit yourself to how much you're eating or how much you're drinking or anything like that, as long as you're just eating sardines. Another reason that I kind of limit how much I'm eating, Wild Planet sardines are, I believe they're over $4 a can, which is kind of pricey in all honesty. And so trying to keep a budget in mind, I didn't really want to be eating chicken of the sea, the cheaper ones. I believe those were around $2 when you buy them by the case. But I didn't want to be eating those. So again, like kind of weighing that out. And I guess like quick math on that, at $4 a can, 16, 20, that would have been like $30 in 3 days, $35 maybe in 3 days of me doing this fast. Might also go into play if you're considering doing it. But that was my experience. I didn't really feel hungry. That's another good thing about fasting when you can eat, is you get, whether you're actually hungry or not, you get the feeling of eating something. And so whether that's placebo or whatever that really is, I'm sure there's like a doctor somewhere, somebody who's researched that, maybe not a doctor, but a scientist or something, who could talk about what that is. But it helps to have something. Yeah. And I also I chew gum a lot whenever I fast of any sort, like the intermittent, that 20 hours in between. That black coffee was also something that I drink. That's okay too. That's not going to mess with anything. Another thing that might actually, I did do zero sugar Coca-Cola, which might not be the greatest thing to do, but from what I've read, it doesn't take you out of that either. I was never really a pop drinker until I started doing this, in all honesty. It's something that I kind of now have to give up, is zero sugar pop. So I guess I still have things that I could tighten up and do differently the next time. But I wanted to mention that just so people know it is strict, but you don't have to be like that strict about it. You're still going to get the benefits. Okay, and the last thing I'm going to talk about with this, my sardine fast, is weight loss. So I did weigh myself before and after. The number on the scale really isn't important to me, and I don't think it should be important to anybody, in all honesty. Your weight's going to fluctuate a lot, and I've learned this over the years, and I want to stress it, I guess. Your weight's going to fluctuate a lot depending on how well hydrated you are, and just like all the variables of like how stressed out you are, how much food you've eaten at any given time, like you can manipulate the number on the scale and it's not really reflective of your general health. So I just want to reiterate that part of it before I go into how much I lost. A gallon of water weighs 8 pounds, actually. So something that I didn't intentionally do, but I do kind of want to disclose before I talk about the numbers. The last day, I do recall I went on a hike, and I believe it was like 4 miles, maybe, and it was hot that day, and I didn't bring water. So that probably was an inaccurate like skew of the numbers on the scale. I did come home and I drank a half gallon of water before I stepped on the scale to weigh myself to do this because I felt like it wasn't accurately displaying how much weight loss could be there, I guess. Um, because, like, if you're super dehydrated, you're going to show a much lower number on the scale and it's going to make this look like so I lost in total 4.8 pounds from the first time that I weighed to the last time that I weighed. So if I wouldn't have drank that half gallon of water, theoretically I probably would have showed like 8 pounds lost, which really wasn't the truth. I mean, I guess it was kind of the truth, but it just like fluctuates so much that I didn't feel good about putting that number out there, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Um, Again, I'll probably do a whole video on it actually about why I think it needs to be stressed more often that the number on the scale does not matter. But I digress. So 4.8 pounds that I lost in 3 days. To talk about that a little bit more, I guess, when you're fasting and you're going from eating carbohydrates to cutting them out, I feel like there's like a lot of people who talk about this too, and you can find this information online. Um, your body stores, I believe it's glycogen in your muscles. And so whenever you cut out carbohydrates or you're fasting, a lot of that weight loss is you just burning that sugar off. It stores in your muscles, and so then you're really just trying to get all that out. So it's kind of not that initial weight loss isn't really like reflective of body fat or anything like that. Sure, it takes numbers off the scale, but I know that as soon as I start eating carbohydrates again, I'm probably going to put that weight right back on. And I think that's important to like stress and note also. Um, but all in all, like I said, my third time doing sardine fasting, and I personally think it's a great option to go. Um, I'll probably do it in the future. Just, I think more so to get myself back into the diet. It's just a much smoother transition, and I personally think it's pretty good. Yeah. Um, I probably will do some more research and see if there's other things to try. I think it's important to try new things, especially around diet. Like just see what works, see what's going to make you feel best. And that's going to vary person to person. Like this is just my personal experience out of this. But I think it's worth a try if you're considering it in any way. So yeah, thanks for listening to me yap. See you next time. I actually misspoke. I had lost 3.8 pounds, not 4.8. And this was another brand of sardines that I enjoyed. Thanks for watching.